Hello, World Civilization 106. Welcome to week 11 and the last week until finals. And finals are, for this class, your final is next week. There's two things that's confusing about that. One, on my syllabus, I didn't have that because I messed up on the way I broke up these classes. But I thought that I was going to have to teach the same week of having finals or do something like that. And fortunately, I actually realized that I messed up. But this is for the better because this week you have this final class like it's supposed to work that way, and then you just have a final next week. And the final, to be honest, isn't going to be that hard if you've been already doing all the work. It's going to be worth 25 points. And I'm going to mention this again in other videos that I don't encourage people to not take any exams or finals. I'm not a mathematician and I don't take responsibility for calculating your grade and determining whether or not you can afford to not take the exam. But what I will do is next week, and I'll put this out again in another announcement. If you think that you have enough points not to take it, you can write me. You go to the link of the exam. You're going to write me and tell me that you're not taking the exam, and then I'll put a 0 there. Now, next week when I open up the class, if I put that 0 in and you realize that it took your grade down a notch, as long as you still, as long as the deadline has not been passed, I'll let you still turn in the exam. Even if you said you're not going to, I put the 0 and then it goes down. Okay, so that's just something to point out. The real trick is making sure that you're, where you're at now. If you have a lot of late makeup work, I got to be honest, I'm really kind of getting bombarded by a lot of students in regards to this issue. And I can't just automatically take in a lot of late work. Officially, that's not something that I'm obligated to do at all. I will, depending on the circumstances, I'll try to work with all of you. What I want you to do is go through your grades and also make sure that there's nothing that's not graded from the past. I tried to make sure I put 0s everywhere where there wasn't a 0 put. And then, this is a good time to talk to me and see what we have available. But you should have been following your grade the whole time. But in any case, here I am if you need to talk to me. We'll see what we can do. Second thing that I want to say is, as a person who teaches history and just a human being, seeing what's happened, looking at the Notre Dame burning right now is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal for French people, but to the whole world. And a part burned down recently of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is getting almost no attention. When the U.S. invaded Iraq, lots of ancient Mesopotamian artifacts were destroyed because they weren't protected, and that was not brought into consideration even by the Bush government. Perhaps a blind spot. And at the time, I remember there were some folks in the U.S. government that resigned. That I think worked with antiquities in the U.S. that were so upset about it. And then, of course, we know that, I don't know if many of you know, in Afghanistan, some giant ancient Buddhist statues were destroyed by the Taliban, and ISIS destroyed many amazing artifacts in historical places in Iraq and Syria. It's painful when we see, historical relics being destroyed that you can't bring back, that are important to so many people. And These things have been happening, as we've been learning in history, a long time, from a wide range of reasons. Natural disasters, like we're seeing here, or sometimes negligence on human behavior, and other times deliberate destruction. I remember when I was a kid, reading my book of Bible stories, was learning about King Josiah, and what made him popular was that he destroyed a bunch of shrines in biblical Israel, because that was considered pagan to God. And so my point is that iconoclasm and destruction of sacred items has been going on through various ideological battles in different societies. And then again, also in this case, this is, I don't really know actually at this point what the real reason, maybe no one knows yet what set the fire going, but it's heavy. So that's all I have to say about that. And another thing that I need to point out before we end is I just had a review, and according to my bosses, if you will, that sat in on my class and sent out review forms. According to the review, only one person actually gave any feedback. And I'm not mad about this, but I just want to say something very quickly. If you are taking online classes or other classes at all, and your professor is being kind of observed by other professors and administrators, and they're asking for any feedback, it's to your advantage. So for one, you might have had a lot of negative things to say about this class, or certain things that were negative mixed with positive, one way or the other. There's a wide range of variables. But keep in mind that when you don't give any feedback, it leaves only the administrators or those who are observing the class are going to make a decision in regards to how effective, like what a professor like me is doing for you. And their thoughts about what is working in this class or not may be based on their own impressions that may or may not reflect how you feel. So I'm going to have to change some aspects of my online classes. So if you're going to have me in the future, you may like the improvements or you may not. But ultimately, you had a chance to participate in giving feedback, and I got one feedback that was positive, but ultimately, it is what it is. So my point is, in the future, I don't even know how much it would change the way things are, how much that would change. But keep in mind that it is significant for you to be able to have an opportunity to express what you want, that you liked about a class or you didn't like. Because that way there's something for the professors and the administrators to go on, especially if there's a discussion behind the scene of whether or not that there's something is effective or not, or beneficial, or enjoyed or not enjoyed by the students, okay? So that's all I want to let you know. Not the end of the world, but, just putting that out there. And so the last thing to say is, here we are. I hope you really enjoy this history, because it's history related more closely to the geographic area in which all of you are in. And, I'm looking forward to hearing some of your discussions. I've really enjoyed having this class with you. I'll say a few things more about that when I give my final announcement for next week. So have a great week, And keep positive despite whatever's going on in the world. And be good to yourself and to your neighbors. And we'll be in touch.